You have to admit that XRP derivatives are going to be a really big game changer as far as the public conversation that's happening around XRP. We see this interesting chart right here that I was paying attention to. This is actually the 1st of August. And we see this huge spike happening, and I was reading this article that essentially talks about the connection between the XRP derivatives and how this is going to be, playing out. We're honestly witnessing it happening before our eyes. So as far as Ripple is concerned, I mean, there's always people who are reading the various different signs and the indications that we see happening within the establishment, the banks that are these deals with Ripple XRP. It's all pretty public, above the board type stuff. In particular, we were seeing the Clintons, Bill Clinton at the XRP Ripple event earlier. Some sort of sketchy stuff also happening, but then again, it is interesting to see how these technologies have been developing. I mean, obviously, the Clintons kind of gave me a sour taste in my mouth, if I'm going to be completely honest with myself. Sort of gave me a weird feeling about Ripple, but then again, this is also what the establishment looks like. I mean, my personal feelings about the Clintons aside, if Ripple is the establishment's choice, and these are a lot of the different indications that we have been seeing as far as the different collaborations that have been happening on the level of a lot of different banks and so forth, involving these different connections that are established by Ripple, in particular XRP, does seem as if it is in a interesting position as far as the future goes. Now, I mean, obviously, the question that comes to a lot of minds when the conversation about Ripple is stirred up, people begin to have the conversation about the issue of decentralized versus centralized. And I know that that conversation is really very prevalent when it comes to Ripple, because it's often criticized for its centralized nature, and there's an argument that goes back and forth. But realistically, I think that when we look at where Ripple is positioning themselves for the future, there really is a significant demand out there for a cryptocurrency to blaze the trail that Ripple XRP is really in the making of doing, as far as establishing these different talking points in the basic public consciousness. The fact that we see Ashton Kutcher on Ellen DeGeneres talking about Ripple, getting the soccer moms talking about cryptocurrency, it's an entirely new field of opportunity of people who are becoming aware of cryptocurrency. Now, of course, the first and the still dominant crypto, I mean, Bitcoin, of course, still at the #1 position. But the conversation that's been had about Bitcoin has largely been exhausted in the public consciousness, and it is an interesting time for altcoins to rise. And sooner or later, I think that there is a large probability that as we see more people all around the world becoming more aware of cryptocurrencies, the leverageability for XRP really is substantial. And obviously, I'm going to be as honest as I can. I'm not going to give any apologies for Ripple, because it does speak for itself in a lot of ways. I mean, I could criticize certain points about Ripple, and then of course I could give it praise for other variables. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you just have to do your own research when it comes to these things. But in my opinion, I do have an optimistic view of where Ripple could be headed. All the philosophical points about cryptocurrency aside, the dreams of the original Bitcoin philosophy, yada yada. All that being said, I'm interested in making money. I'm interested in how Ripple is going to revolutionize and leverage cryptocurrency and ultimately take over. And I want to be along for the ride if we're going to the moon. So all these different signs that we're going to go over in this video about the potential for a bull run involving Ripple, make sure that you understand that it's all just my opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes. sources, of course. Remember, I'm not your dad. At the end of the day, I think that it's important to listen to a multitude of different opinions. I'd also recommend that you guys follow Ripple on their official Twitter, and then if you guys are interested in connecting with us on Twitter, you can also do so very easily. Our Twitter handle is actually @CryptoTuber, so if you guys are interested in connecting with us, you could do so very easily there. But all that being said, let's get into the news. So Ripple, it is interesting to see how we've been seeing the various different news outlets basically responding to the space in total, and it is interesting to see how institutional investors have been pointing their interests in certain directions. Of course, we did have the coin market cap glitch earlier as well, and at the same time we see Coinbase launching crypto plugins for popular e-commerce platforms, which is also very exciting as far as mass adoption goes on a large scale. And I think that Ripple also does stand to really benefit as far as seeing these different applications on a larger scale. As far as the establishment goes, if Ripple is the pick for the corporations of the world and so forth, then so be it. Of course, I know that Ripple does have its fair share of haters, just like any other cryptocurrency, but my message to the haters is that there's going to be a level of problems with any of these technologies, and I think that Ripple, it has a great team working behind it, for one, and for two, I think that from a data perspective, Ripple does have their ducks in order, and I think that ultimately moving forward, we could be seeing some really interesting things happening for Ripple in the 2019, 2020. We're witnessing a paradigm shift that's happening involving cryptocurrency right now that's really unprecedented as far as human history up until this point. Cryptocurrency is essentially reinventing the way that people view sending money and sending value and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of competition and so forth, but I do think that Ripple does have potential to be a #2 ranking cryptocurrency, and I really do stand by that because we have seen Ripple exchange positions with Ethereum before, and I believe that it is possible to happen again. I mean, currently looking at the market cap where it is at 266 billion. Now, obviously, we do have a long way to go before that $1 trillion market cap. You also have to remember how quickly we saw Bitcoin have so much progress in such a short amount of time. Once the institutional investors are on board and all the things are in alignment, you'd be surprised how quickly things can happen. And of course, there are a lot of things that need to happen as far as the conversation that's currently occurring regarding regulations. But one of the key things that I think is a really strong suit for Ripple is the fact that they're really positioned in a substantial place as far as how that conversation is really going to be unfolding, which is essentially going to trickle down and affect all these different technologies. So I was actually watching this really interesting video by the CryptoTwins, and you guys probably know them. They're pretty hilarious YouTubers, but I found this video interesting because these guys definitely do have a really interesting way of vocalizing their vocabulary and so forth. So just for fun, I'm going to be including a link to this video down in the description below, and I'd recommend you guys go and follow, subscribe or whatever to these guys. Really interesting channel. They definitely do have their own unique perspective. It's not necessarily like all the other cryptocurrency YouTubers, but I think that that's one of the things that they really have going for them. Just look at their titles. I mean, they're going balls deep on Ripple XRP. So if you're a fan of Ripple, you'll definitely want to hear what these guys have to say. They have another YouTube channel. It's got like couple million subscribers. So these guys are making cryptocurrency videos basically just for fun, I think, but they really are pretty smart people, so I'm going to give them that shout out. But all that being said, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this piece of content, and of course, where Bitcoin dominance is right now, 48.1%. A lot of people say that that's high. I mean, it is certainly up from where we were seeing it earlier, late July. It just seems to be continuing to move upwards as far as the volatility aspects are concerned. I mean, we see days where everything's in the red and people tend to migrate towards Bitcoin, but all that being said, if you guys are interested in continuing the conversation, make sure that you guys connect with us on Twitter. You know, like I said, the link to the Twitter will actually be down in the description below. And all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this content. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.